Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we got some more interesting stuff here, as apparently we have the Texas wants to do a recession from the U.S. Let me put my little 2 cents in here before we get into the story here. Listen, I understand that everybody wants a recession, specifically Texas and a few other states also want to start a recession from the U.S. because of the actual lunacy that is happening currently. This was a big talking point, I would even say, last year where there was a recession being talked about. Now, I understand everybody that everything is doom and gloom and everything seems terrible, but as of right now, the majority of the country is currently what is seen to be to vote red, and with Tim Pool's great analysis of saying, oh, well, there's going to be a civil war. Listen. We're not going to be heading to civil war. Some people were saying that there is a civil war happening, but let me try to actually put into the words to reality here. The people that are so insane, that are so on the far left, are so far out there that the majority of the people are not even like that. Okay? So, if it would be a civil war, if it would ever actually happen at all, it would be due to the fact that it would be a very small handful of people. And it would literally probably be against the majority of the country of not really going that. Now, of course, there'll be some people maybe join that one side or whatever, but majority of the people, I would say, do not want a civil war. So if majority of people don't want the civil war, then there won't be a civil war. Just because people are saying, oh, okay, well, there'll be a potential civil war, okay, that's different from saying actually wanting a civil war, right? So that's one thing, okay? That's the first thing. 2, majority of the people today that are doing these things are cowards. They do it because, well, first off, they don't know that they're going. They think they're going to not be held accountable for some of the actions that they do. Like, for instance, what are they called? What are they actually called? Oh God, this is not good for my age. The pro-abortionists, where they're going to actual senators' houses and places, it's because they're not being held accountable, right? They're not being put in jail, they're not being arrested, they're not being shot at. It's completely different when they're actually being shot at, and then there's a case of actual consequence of doing this, right? So again, these people that do this are not being jailed or actually having any type of serious punishment levied against them. This is why they do it. Because they can. They're being allowed to do so. But majority of them don't even know how to use a weapon or a gun, for that matter. And some of them will even go and say, I'm afraid of a single gunfire, which would terrorize them horribly. And then when actual war happens, because when war actually happens, we all know it's not pretty. We all know it's not this great thing that will be happening. It would literally be people having to be under fire, getting shot at by bullets whizzing by them. It is not a very pretty thing, and these very sensitive baby children far leftists are not going to be at the hands of a civil war where there's bullets whizzing by them when they're being afraid of their mayonnaise jars leaving or their identity leaving. Listen. Their identity is not going to save them from a bullet piercing their brain. Alright? That's one thing. Okay? So, the Civil War is a sham. It's not going to happen because modern day people are too afraid of it. Alright? That's just plain and simple. When push comes to shove and when it actually happens, they'll most likely pedal back because they're cowards. Alright? So Tim, this whole Civil War thing, just stop it. Stop trying to enlist fear into people. Listen, I understand what you're doing. You're just saying that people are saying this and they're doing whatever, but again, we all know that Civil War will not happen in this country anytime soon, specifically because of the way the far left is. Now, yes, is there violence increasing? Well, violence is increasing due to a number of actual reasons, due to the fact that due to a number of reasons onto why violence is increasing. Poverty, like, maybe removing the police, or not having not having a lot of, or not having people be able to defend themselves. So violence rises there. Chicago's a good example of this. So when we go look at these things, yes, violence is increasing. Do I think there will be a civil war? No, because that's just lunacy. I don't think the actual far left is going to go out and guns and blazing, because innately they're just cowards. So that's my first thing. Now we'll go to the recession, and I honestly don't think they can actually do the recession. One, because I don't think that's technically legal, even though it says here that Texans can't legally secede from the U.S. I don't know where that may be the case, but they're not going to secede from the U.S., and I don't know how they would even remotely do that legally. So, again, it will probably cause a whole bunch of issues, so whatever. But let's get into the actual article in itself. Well, if there is an article, however, thousands of Republicans gathered in Houston last week for the 2022 Texas State Republican Convention. Measures adopted to the party's platform at the convention are not set laws. Rather, they are act as a mission statement of sorts for the party over the next 2 years. Sure. Again, I don't see how we're gonna see any type of recession at all. Due to the fact that due to the fact that it's going to take a lot for them to really get on board. But as we said here, so so that's what I kind of see here. Not much really going on with the recession. I mean, as I said, measures adopted to the party's platform of the convention are not set laws, or they are set act as a mission statement of sorts for the party over the next 2 years. They're trying to push this and try to see where this goes, but I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. Mostly due to the fact that a lot of people are voting red as of right now. So that being said, I am not really seeing too much in the way of that kind of just going in here. I mean, we also have another article here specifically giving a bit more of a descriptive actual thing here, even though Newsweek is also quite terrible and it's part of the far left and this Alfie Meat guy. Texas Republicans are pushing for a referendum to decide whether the state should secede from the U.S. The demand for Texans to be allowed to vote on the issue in 2023 was one of many measures adopted in the Texas GOP's party platform following last week's state convention in Houston. Under a section titled State Sovereignty, the platform states, pursuant to Article 1, Section 1 of the Texas Constitution, the federal government has impaired our right of local self-government. Therefore, federally mandated legislation that infringes upon the 10th Amendment rights of Texas should be ignored, opposed, refused, and nullified. Texans retains the right to secede from the United States, and the Texas legislature should be called upon to pass a referendum consistent thereto. It goes on to say, in another section on state governance, the platform states that Texas Republicans want the state to pass a bill in its next session, requiring a referendum in the 2023 general election for the people of Texas to determine whether or not the state of Texas should reassert its status as an independent nation. Which is very possible they could do so. Texas was before becoming part of the U.S. was already a well-running state beforehand. I don't think any states like California, etc., could actually be able to function like this because of all the chaos that's happening. So, I mean, I digress. The myth that Texas can secede from the U.S. continues because of the state's history of independence. According to the Texas Tribune, Texas declared independence from Mexico in 1836 and spent 9 years as its own nation before becoming a U.S. state. Texas then seceded from the Union in 1961 before being readmitted following the end of the Civil War in 1970. The U.S. Constitution makes no provisions for states to secede, and in 1969, the Supreme Court ruled in Texas v. White that states cannot unlettered secede from the Union. Yeah, so there's that. So there'll be a lot of gun-ho or type of stuff to do for them to secede, and if it would either whether they call it a civil war, or rather, it would be many years down the road for that to even happen successful legally and, well, without bloodshed. so there you have it. If there was any constitution resolved by the Civil War, it is that there is no right to secede. The late Justice Santonio Secede wrote, "Still, modern secessionist efforts have continued in the states for decades, and calls to secede tend to become louder when a Democrat is president, according to the Tribune. It's not clear how popular the effort is among Texans, but the Texas Nationalist Movement's website of almost 500,000 Texans support its work to make Texas an independent state nation again. The movement's efforts have been promoted by Texas Republicans last year. State Representative Kyle Bitterman introduced a bill that called for a Texas referendum, which was endorsed by Texas GOP Chairman Allen West. The bill ultimately failed, which I am not surprised. The bill was rebuked by the lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, with Republican State Representative Jeff Leach branding it as a disgrace to the Lone Star State and the very definition of seditious. So, that's pretty much mostly it. My little opinion about this is that, granted, I do agree that they could secede, maybe, but I don't see how that's really going to work, especially due to the fact that the people are going to have to speak upon about that, first off, and then 3, I don't see how this would really go anywhere, to be honest. I mean, they said it's been talking for years, but in all honesty, I haven't really been hearing anything about recession, at least since last year. And that was like in 2020, 2021, at the very least, when I even started hearing about recession. Even when I was in high school or not really very much into politics, I didn't hear or anything about actual recession happening. So I'm not quite sure what they're trying to really do here, because the fact that they're saying like it's been for years, I don't really see that. As well as the issue of referendum delegates who also voted on more than 270 platform planks as the convention basically closed on Saturday. The votes will be tallied and certified in Austin, but it is rare for a plank to be rejected. Party spokesperson James Wessel told the Tribune has been contacted for additional comment. Texas Republicans also approved a resolution declaring that President Joe Biden was not legitimately elected, signaling the continued support for former President Donald Trump's baseless claims of widespread fraud in the 2020 presidential election. Whatever they want to say. The Texas GOP's new party platform also called for full repeal of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Other planks also indicated a further shift to the right for the party, giving prominence to culture issues. The platform describes homosexuality as an abnormal lifestyle choice. No, you're wrong again about that. But whatever you want to say, Newsweek. And also clears that the party will oppose all efforts to validate transgender identity. Nobody wants to validate transgender specifically because of the fact that they're, 1, not what they say they are, and 2, they're technically going after kids from what we're seeing. So yeah, they're not going to have very much of a push for that. The platform also calls for a total ban on abortion and equal protection for the preborn. Yeah, because I think majority of people actually are against abortion because they're not lunatics. Or at the very least, they're not crazy like the very far left. Abortion is currently prohibited after around 6 weeks of pregnancy in Texas, but an imminent ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court could overturn the decision in Roe v. Wade, guaranteeing abortion rights nationwide and triggering a law in Texas making abortion illegal. The new Texas GOP platform also states that the education system should focus on imparting essential academic knowledge, understanding why Texas and America are exceptional, and have positively contributed to our world, and while doing so, also offer enrichment subjects that bless students' lives. I would also agree with that, because maybe it might be a good idea to maybe teach kids something that's actually meaningful rather than teaching them LGBTQ plus stuff that has nothing to do with their actual basic knowledge for, being productive in society. It calls for students to learn about the humanity of the preborn child, including teaching that life begins at fertilization. It also demands that the state legislature pass a law prohibiting the teaching of sex education, sexual health, or sexual choice or identity in any public school in any grade whatsoever. I agree, because teachers today are trying to groom children, which is quite sick, honestly. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.